The current generation of consoles, namely the PS5 and Xbox Series X, is set to usher in a new era for gaming with amazing games that have higher fidelity levels and a scope that dwarfs that of the last generation. We've already seen glimpses of what's possible with the power of this hardware with the likes of Horizon Forbidden West, and there's a slew of upcoming games that look to be pushing boundaries in many significant ways. The upcoming Chrono Odyssey is also one such game, which is an MMORPG that's currently in development at Chrono Studio, and is published by Korean gaming giant NPixel. It was originally scheduled to release in 2022, but the game was delayed without any notice. However, the game has now resurfaced once again with a comprehensive trailer that has us excited about what's in store. Chrono Odyssey looks absolutely breathtaking, and it definitely has the potential to become the next big MMORPG. The game is set against the high fantasy backdrop of Cetera, a magical place that's brimming with all sorts of wonder and intrigue. The Chronotector is said to be a powerful force that seems to play a huge role in the narrative and gameplay proceedings, and the developer states that unlocking the secrets of this force will be an important part of the player's journey. Of course, the trailer doesn't give much information about the narrative, but it looks like an interesting backdrop that's ripe for crafting compelling narratives and independent side stories that shed more light on the history of this richly crafted world. As mentioned previously, Chrono Odyssey is an MMORPG, so the game's narrative and, by extension, the world will keep on evolving with each new content update. Coming over to the gameplay side of things, Chrono Odyssey features a vast pool of ideas and mechanics that could come together to make for a fantastic experience that rarely gets stale. It takes a lot of inspiration from Software's works, which can be easily seen from the combat sequences showcased in the trailer. The action looks brutal, with gargantuan enemies towering above you all while you try to find openings between attacks and defeat your opponents. The combat is also really flexible, and players get to choose from more than a handful of character classes that work very differently from one another. For instance, the swordsman will be using swords and shields to dish out damage to opponents, while the sorcerer will use magic and miracles to make short work of anything that stands in his path. And similarly, the berserker will use heavy weapons and armor to power through the opposition. What we don't know at the moment is how flexible the class system really is. Will we be able to create hybrid builds that specialize in more than one playstyle like Dark Souls? Or will you be locked into playing and progressing in a more rigid way? But what makes the class system so special is the cooperative nature of the game. Players will be teaming up to tackle dungeons and fight bosses, and team members of different classes can synergize and come up with interesting tactics to take down the toughest monsters in the game. For instance, the sorcerer could cast a spell to freeze an enemy in its tracks, and then a berserker could follow up with a flurry of heavy strikes to finish them off. The prospect of working together to overcome such insurmountable odds is extremely tantalizing, and we can't wait to see more of what's in store. In addition to this, players will also have the ability to control the flow of time itself thanks to the power of the Chronotector. The trailer showcased the player reversing time to get a tactical advantage on the opponent, but you'll also be able to stop time to beat down enemies and bosses without taking any damage. This special ability doesn't seem locked into any specific class, and the developer has said that manipulating time will also enable players to explore other timelines as well. While we don't know what this exactly means, we're assuming that it might be a more sophisticated choice system, where you'll be able to make different choices in any given quest and choose the best outcome from the lot. Progression will undoubtedly be an important part of the Chrono Odyssey experience, and players will be working towards obtaining better and more powerful gear and weapons to take on increasingly difficult challenges. The trailer hasn't shown much information on this aspect, but it's going to be a crucial piece of the puzzle. Ideally, it should be fleshed out enough to give players the ability to express themselves through their builds, but it shouldn't be too cluttered with different currencies, stats, and skill trees that it ends up being too frustrating instead. There's a careful balance that needs to be achieved if Chrono Odyssey wishes to be a game that appeals to the masses. And then there are the visuals, which look gorgeous. Chrono Odyssey is built using Unreal Engine 5, and it makes great use of the engine's technical capabilities to render a lifelike world that's nothing short of extraordinary. Everything from the character models to the lighting and texture work looks really impressive. And that's all on top of an open world that has a grand scope. Just observe how the wind causes fields of tall grass to move in a realistic fashion, and how environmental effects like lightning strikes affect the global lighting for a split second before going back to normal. The game seems to have some great attention to detail alongside some amazing art direction, which uses an appropriately dark color palette to make this dark fantasy world come alive. And on the topic of the open world, there's a great amount of level of variety on offer. The trailer showcases crumbling castles, vast grasslands, complex settlements brimming with NPCs, lush forests, and much more, which makes it seem like the open world of Cetera will be a vast one that will take dozens upon dozens of hours to explore. Switching gears over to the release front, the developers haven't stated any release dates at the moment, but a 2024 release date seems to be a fair guess, considering that it was originally scheduled to come out last year. Of course, it's best to take this guess with a grain of salt, since it is quite possible that the game might get delayed once again. In conclusion, Chrono Odyssey looks like a game that's well worth keeping on your radar. The combat loop seems simple enough, but the time-bending mechanics and co-op gameplay come together to make it something really special. The visuals and the open world of Cetera also look really appealing, and there's a big opportunity to craft a compelling game with this set of mechanics. We really hope that Chrono Odyssey ends up being worth all of this hype, and if it does, it could definitely be one of the hottest games on the market when it releases for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.